Hello and welcome to the Student Council and Advice podcast made for and by students, where everybody is, qualified to talk about their own experiences. I'm Carter Dvorak, and we have Kayleigh Richmond on from Barnard University. Welcome, Kayleigh. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. In my dorm room, my roommate is at office hours right now, so
Sweet.
chilling.
Seems office hours a good thing to do, to my knowledge. So the intro question we asked here, Kayleigh, is what has been your favorite 5 minutes of the past week?
Okay. I saw this question before and I was really trying to think hard of what do I say my favorite 5 minutes are? Because it has not been the most fun or chill week. So I have to say, I guess Wednesday nights I go to this workout class and I don't know, it was a really good class. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go just because I was super tired and everything, but I forced myself to go and it was really fun. I love the instructor. She's so nice and so good. So I guess that would probably be my favorite 5 minutes.
Awesome. That's great. I honestly, I feel the same way. Anytime I don't want to do a workout and I do, mostly I'm happy. So it's a nice thing. Well, let's just get right into this whole college experience. And essentially with that, what has your college experience been up to this point?
Yeah, so I'm a freshman at Barnard College, as you said, which, if anyone doesn't know, is the historically women's college. It's a part of Columbia University. So, Columbia, which is in New York City, again, if anyone doesn't know, it has undergrad schools. So it has Columbia College, which is the main one that everyone goes to, SEAS, which is the School of Engineering, GS, which is general studies, and it's kind of confusing. It's for people who don't have traditional college paths. And then there's Barnard, but Barnard's really unique because it is has its own president and its own admissions office, and it's more separate than the other undergrad schools, but I still take classes at Columbia. Columbia people take classes here. It's very integrated. Can you tell that I just applied to be a tour guide here?
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, but so up until this point it's been pretty good. It's so I'm in my second semester of my freshman year, so I actually only have 6 more weeks left here, which is crazy. Time has really flown. Luckily things have been pretty normal. I didn't have really much online school and stuff, which has been nice, but yeah, definitely different than I expected it to be. I don't know how much you want me to go into this question.
All in, as much as you want to.
Yeah, I had a lot of expectations coming in. I think everybody does. Barnard was my ED, early decision school, so it was my dream school. This was my ride or die. And I had a lot of expectations, and it's definitely lived up to some, but it also hasn't in other ways, which is a whole thing of its own. It's the social not social life, but the social scene, and just navigating that and making friends after having lifelong friends from high school is very different, and something I had never experienced before. And I'm lucky to have found kind of a core group of people, and I'm meeting more people every day. But that was definitely something I think that you come into college and you expect it's you're gonna meet your best friends, and first night and you guys all end up in the same room and you're just these are my besties for life, and it's not really like that for most people. And adjusting to college work, I've had this really weird situation where I came from high school, I was so busy all the time, doing homework all the time, going to dance, spending so much time doing that. And then in college, even though, right now I'm taking 5 classes. Last semester I had 6, which is a lot. Even with all that, and I'm in clubs and I still dance, you have so much more free time, which is so weird, and navigating how I use that. Cause some days I'm I just want to lie on my bed and do nothing, but then it's you do have work to do. And then it's also weird because I don't really have a lot of classes where I have weekly tests or weekly quizzes. It's more just your midterm and your final, and maybe you have a few papers. So that's also been a weird adjustment. But I would say overall, first semester was a little bit rough. Second semester, end of first semester to second semester, has definitely been better. But overall, I've had a pretty good time. I'm already excited for next year and stuff. So I don't know. I feel I really went off on a tangent there, but it's been a lot of learning, but it's also been really fun.
That was an incredible answer. And more free time in college is not what I expected to come from anybody in college. But I'm happy and excited for that because I'm in a lot of homework high school life right now. So more free time, that'll be rad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on, like what your high school situation was, what your experience there was, versus like how you find the workload in college. But I think for me, it's like, like I'm taking 5 classes, but like one day I have 2 classes and one day I have 3 classes. And yeah, they're a little bit longer than my high school classes, but like for the most part, they're spread out. So like on like for example, like Tuesday, Thursdays, because we run kind of on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Tuesday, Thursday schedule. So Tuesday, Thursdays, I have a class that starts at 11:40 and it's done by like 12:55, and then my next class isn't until 4:10. And then my next class after that is at 6:10. So like I'm taking classes at weird hours, but I'm also like I have a whole chunk in the middle of the day where I'm like just sitting here like figuring out what I'm gonna do, which is something that I don't really think you have in high school. And like I also like extracurriculars, like they'll happen like a lot. Sometimes I'll have extracurriculars that are like later at night because like everyone lives here. So it's like something like at 8 or 9, whereas like I would maybe be like at dance from like 6 to 8 or something. So I think that's also kind of like something where it's like, and then like on the day to day, like you don't necessarily have homework all the time. It's like a lot of readings, at least for me. Like I will admit I'm not really doing a lot of STEM. And I think a STEM experience is different from a humanities experience, but like I just have a lot of reading for my classes. So like sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do this reading. Like I have no homework. I have no work to do today, which is like not the mindset I would like put out there, but it's definitely something that happens. So yeah, I think like my mom said that to me a lot. Like before college was like, she was like, yeah, you're gonna have a lot of free time. And I was like, what do you mean I'm gonna have a lot of free time? But like I really have found that like I think sometimes like I'm like, wow, how did I like do my high school schedule? Because I was like going from like 6 a.m. to like 10 p.m. with like no breaks.
I don't know how I do it now. In all honesty, sometimes, especially last trimester, it was just nuts. But that's a great thing to hear about, less free time. And I think that honestly, I think that different times in the day for classes is probably like a pretty good play. Seems like a really exciting piece of college that I don't feel like is talked about as much. What exactly are you kind of majoring in? What's kind of your plan there?
So I am doing a double major as of now. I technically am undecided because I haven't declared. We have until our senior spring. Sorry, can you hear the sirens?
Very briefly, it's not. I don't. Not
Okay.
really.
Okay, the fire truck just passed.
Okay.
The joys of living in New York City. Um, but yeah, so I am, like I said, we have until our seniors, or not senior, our sophomore spring to declare. So I'm technically undeclared, but I'm planning on double majoring in econ and social history and sociology. So here at Barnard, you can do regular econ, but then they also have different tracks like econ math, econ, I think it's like poli sci. So that's what I'm planning on doing. And kind of, I don't know if you want me to answer this, but like where I want to take that, because I think I say those majors and people are like, okay, what do you want to do? I really want to like as of now go into marketing or like social media management in that realm. And Barnard and Columbia don't really have like business majors. They don't really have like so I could like they don't have like nursing or like business majors like that. I think Columbia has like finance, which I knew I didn't want to do. So for a lot of people, it's like not a problem because you do just get such a good education anyways. No one's going to turn you down for a job because you don't have a marketing degree. So that was kind of my econ thing. That's like a very like pre-business route, and then like I added sociology because that's also like a pre-marketing thing, and I also just think it's interesting. And I think like if you want to take like you should be taking classes. Yes, you should be taking classes for your major that you want to do, but those should be interesting, and you should be interested in your major. And like if you want to add on a major just because you find it interesting, like you should do that because you're never gonna have this kind of time in your life again where you get to just like learn whatever you want to learn. Like more than in high school, like you're just never going to have this opportunity. Like even if you go to grad school, like you just in grad school, like you're so focused on like what you're like learning or what you're doing, like you're never going to have this many like random classes available to you. So like that would be, I know like there's like other questions coming, but like a big piece of advice would be like take advantage of those random classes. Like I'm taking art history class right now. Like I go to the Met every few weeks and we like look at art pieces with my TA. Like I took a film class last semester, like stuff I would never take otherwise. And like it's been really fun.
That's incredible. I think that you're absolutely right in that piece of advice of taking advantage of things, right? I think in high school, right, I feel like I didn't, I think you did as well, like tried to do, some of those other clubs or like random electives that offered things, but there's a lot less freedom there. Like I think, especially like, I was in a band class and that really only gave me like, that was my elective for essentially 3 years of high school. And then senior year, I got to play around a little bit with like creative writing courses and things like that. So my schedule is APs and band and like strict school stuff as it is high school and meaning to get you
Mhm.
into college. But I'm really excited to do that in college, is try and, branch out and do a couple classes I wouldn't normally take because I really like that. I like just taking
Mhm.
those extra classes a lot of the time. So that's a cool thing that Barnard offers, and I think a lot of colleges do. And
Mhm.
I am excited for that. Shifting gears a little bit, so you've talked about like dance and stuff, and it's funny because the last person I talked to also was like very, dance was a big fundamental for her. And so what is your perspective on like, Irish dance and that stuff? Like how long have you been into that?
Yeah.
And like how has that really shaped you and is continuing to shape you?
Yeah, so I realized I mentioned dance before, and probably anyone listening is like, "What is she talking about?" Yeah, so I still am a competitive Irish dancer for like so for those who don't know, if you've ever seen river dance or something like that, like it's similar to that. But it's like highly competitive, very time consuming. Like I would compare it to like gymnastics, figure skating, like all-star cheer. Like I think those are very like equivalent comparisons to make to it. Just so people like understand like the time commitment and stuff and like genuinely, like, Irish dance has been, like, one of the best, if not the best things I've ever done that's ever happened to me. I started dancing, like, regular dance when I was 3. I started Irish dancing when I was 5. I started competing in Irish dance probably around I think it was, like, 4th or 5th grade, when I switched to a competitive school, and by 6th grade, I completely cut out all regular dance and was just doing Irish dance strictly, and, like, at this point in my career, I'm at like the highest level you can be in the dance world. I've compete, locally, regionally, nationally. I've even been to worlds. So it's like competitively, it's been really fun with that. But like it also has been just like personally, I think really shaped me into who I am. It's very like you have to have a lot of self discipline. You deal with a lot of disappointment on the daily. Like it just shapes you into what I think is like, oh, the best version of yourself, like physically and like mentally and like personality wise. And like truly like do not know where I would be without it. Like I don't even know what I would be doing like with my free time because like I was never into like I mean maybe I would have gotten into regular dance more, but like I was never like I mean I was good at it, but it was like I just like went once a week. Um so yeah, I just like I truly like it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me.
That's amazing. Is this individual? Is it on a team? Like how does
Oh
that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
go? No, no, I'm
I
just
forget that
like
people like yeah, so it's mostly an individual like sport. So basically the way it happens is like at competitions, there's like four main types of music. Two that are done in shoes that are kind of like tap shoes and two that are done in shoes that are kind of like ballet shoes and then there's like at every age level there's a combination like you do one of the like ballet shoe level dance type dances and one of the like other one dances and then your teacher makes up the steps but like when you get to competition you get on stage with another person so you're doing different steps to the same music so you'll do like your like it's called soft shoe you do that and then you do your hard shoe which is like the tap shoe dance and then everyone dances alone for their what's called a set which is also in your hard shoes but then there's also teams as well so like they're called Kayleighs not spelled the way I spell my name but
I love that so
those are
much.
like yeah if you've ever seen like those I think people kind of think of like Irish dance with that. Like you could have four people in it, you could have ones with eight people in it. I was on an 8-person team at the World Championship. Actually on two teams. But yeah, so it's like both, but it's like mostly individual, if that answers the question.
Totally. And okay, world championship? Like this
Yeah,
how did that go? What happened? Like how did
it
that
was like good. So this was in 2019. They had it in Greensboro, North Carolina, um, which was fun. Um, and yeah, so basically, like, we danced at our regional competition, and we're able to go to the worlds from that. And yeah, so I was on our school sent 3 teams, and I was on 2 of them. They also have individuals who go to the worlds. It's a lot harder for girls to qualify for that because it's usually the top 25%. There's like a weird formula. It's like the top whatever, or it's the top something, and then it's like one for every X more amount of dancers, basically. I think it's like the top 10, and then for every 10 more dancers, it's like one more, something like that. So like my brothers, they're having the first world championship since COVID coming up this April in Belfast. So like my brothers will be dancing there. I won't, which is good because I can't even go to Belfast because I can't take time off of school, unfortunately. But yeah, the boys it's like a lot easier because like it's usually like they'll be like in my brother's competition there's like 3. And then in my competitions there's usually like over 100. So
Wow.
to give a point of
Wow.
comparison. Yeah, and that's just on the regional level because I'm located in New York. I'm in the Mid-Atlantic region, which is like one of the more competitive and bigger regions. I mean, they're all competitive, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm like really I love talking about Irish dance, so I could like
Yeah.
talk about it for forever, but
I
yeah.
think at some point we're gonna have to have some more Irish dance podcasts because
Oh
I
my
am
gosh,
super
yeah.
curious about this because I know nothing and I want to like because I've had a couple other friends who've done
Hmm.
dance or Irish dance and I'm like it's so fascinating and I know absolutely nothing and I want to know more. So either on this or positivity, at some point we're gonna
Yeah.
have to talk more about this.
Yeah. Yeah, I could talk about it for forever, so I'm gonna like cut myself off before.
There will be more to come one day, I promise. That we will not put that to bed forever. But to move on just a little bit, although that was a lovely conversation, so cool to learn about that. So the biggest, not the biggest, one of the things we do on this show is called Pass It On, and I kind of couple it with this thing called the Ultimate Tip because sometimes they're the same,
Mhm.
sometimes one has one but not the other. Essentially, Pass It On is like a piece of advice that you got that somebody gave to you that you want to then share onward, and then the ultimate tip is just like what is, I guess, the fundamental things somebody should maybe be thinking about as they go into college and the future.
Yeah, so I guess for the pass it on, I'll do like piece of high school advice. And it hasn't even been a year since high school, so I feel like I still have a lot of advice there. So I guess my thing would be for like high school, really any age, like find like one or two activities that you're really passionate about. You don't have to do like 20 different things for your resume. So like my main thing was Irish dance. That was like I loved it. I still love it. Like that is my life. That was my life. And I did have a few other activities. So another huge thing for me was Girl Scouts. Like I used to be embarrassed talking about Girl Scouts because I was like, ew. But like it was a good experience. And like I did like all my like bronze, silver, gold awards for that. So yeah, and I was in a few other clubs, but I wasn't nearly as like passionate about them as I was for dance. And like I was definitely not like I think my activity section got filled up because I think I put in like camp counselor stuff that I did as well. If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about the Common App activity section, which I'm sure all current seniors are more than familiar with.
Intensely
But
familiar with it, yeah.
yeah, I would say it really like if you have something that you're so passionate about, like that's so much better. First of all, you're gonna have such a better high school experience than like if you were in like 5 million different clubs, like trying to be president of all of them, trying to, get the like perfect resume. Like it that's just not a thing. And I think colleges really like to see that passion and see that commitment. So like if you have something that you really love to do, like do it and explore it to its fullest. And like I found like through Irish dance, like yeah, I was doing it competitively, but then like it spawned into leadership opportunities for me and like volunteer opportunities, those like keywords for college applications. But like truly, truly like finding that activity, one or two or three things that you just like love and put all your energy into is like I think the best tip I could give. I think a lot of high schoolers like get caught up in like padding your resume and like making it full of things, and then like you come to college and you realize people here, like most people only do like a couple of clubs, like max, and like some of them they're like not even really involved in it all. So yeah, I think that's like find your activity, find your one or like two things that you just really really love. Oh, and then the ultimate tip. Yeah, my ultimate tip for college is let go of all your expectations. That's like the hardest thing ever. But I really wish someone like was there for me, especially in like the first semester, drilling it into me, be like, get rid of your expectations. Don't have these expectations. Like I feel like it sounds bad, but I think if you go into it being like, this is a new experience that I'm gonna have, and this is gonna shape me, and it's gonna be hard, and it's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be all these things. That's so much better than going in with like this plan of like how things have to happen and what you want things to be like, because like they're probably not gonna work out that way, not in a bad way, but like things work out so differently, and like you just don't really know. So it's hard, but I think letting go of expectations really can just like makes it a less stressful and more fun experience. And I think you also put a lot less pressure on things to happen, and I think things happen a little bit more naturally that way.
That's an incredible tip. I think that's a tip that I'm hoping I need that jolt into my head. I think regardless of where I go, that is
Yeah.
exceptional. And pass it on is too the superfluous and kind of as I've heard it referred to, and just the idea of doing a bunch of things for the sake of doing a bunch of things has come up a lot as a lot of people's really big pieces of advice,
Mhm.
and I think it's so true. And I think it's very true, right? If you're passionate about a couple things, that's also going to look better. And like not to say again that the
Yeah.
point is the application, that's gonna look better on an app. You're gonna be able to write
Yeah,
essays about that because like aside from
100%.
aside from a full activity section, you
Mhm.
gotta write about the stuff that you do
Yeah,
for colleges, right? Supplementals and scholarships,
yeah.
and if you know, like there's a club at my school, the Interact Club, and it's this volunteer club that I've been with since the first week of freshman year through this year. I've become the president of it, but I freaking love this club, and I know it inside and out, and I can write about it inside and out at this point because of I'm just all in, and I think that that helps a lot. Like I remember there were clubs that I think it's also important to explore a lot of the different things at school. Like I went into my high school as a new freshman, and so I tried just about every club, but like I didn't stick with a lot of them, right? Right? If we had a there's a social media club that kind of budded a little bit, and I like went to a meeting and I'm like, not for me, right? It's probably a great club, but I just was like, okay, I don't need to fill this up on my plate right now, and just focus more on Interact or other stuff that I do. And so both incredible pieces of advice. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I try. But yeah, I would definitely echo your thing about high school. I mean, even like in answers where it's like they don't tell you to write about like your activities and stuff, like I found in literally everything. I was going through my essays the other day because I was looking for a writing sample, and every single essay like was I like talked about Irish dance, or I like talked about Girl Scouts, or I talked about this other club that I was in high school. But like Irish dance like specifically like really made its way into every single answer. And so I think it's really cool when it's like they see like oh, this is an activity, because really when they see the activity section, and not to delve into the comment app too much, but they literally just see like the activity, how many hours a week you do it, how many years you've been doing it, and like a tiny little like short blurb, like a few sentences max, not even, I think. And
Hmm.
so like yeah, they can see that you have all those filled out, but I think when they see like, oh, this is an activity and they're talking about it here where we didn't even say talk about an activity that you did in high school, like I think that really shows that it's something that you're passionate about, and it really gets that point across.
Absolutely. Yeah, I find the same 3 to 4 things crop up in all of my essays there,
Yeah.
regardless of whether I ask for them or not. So, because it's a part of you, right? I
Yeah.
like it's a part of just who you are as a person, and that's going to affect you, right? And the things that you want to do or that you do, or like why you're interested in these things. And so, yeah, I think that's great. So, another question just about college, another kind of one of those broad essential advice things. What's a dorm room essential that you have found? Something that you just can't
Oh,
live without in a dorm room or just at college?
okay, wait. This is I'm like looking around like
Yeah,
what is my
right?
thing? Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't know. I have a few essentials. So one would definitely have to be my fan, which interesting story. So at Barnard, basically the housing works. We have this thing for called the quad, and it's like housing that's on campus and the rest of the housing is off campus. And if you're a freshman, you have to live in the quad. And the quad is made up of 4 buildings, and only one of the buildings has AC. And I and my roommate got placed in the building that has AC. So we were like, perfect. Like I found it out, and I remember crossing fan off my list because they're like, if you're not in a building with AC, you need fans. But then they do this fun thing where they turn off the AC in like October, but it wasn't like cold enough yet for the heat, but then the heat was on. And even though you can control the heat in your room, like there was no AC and it was hot. So, like within one weekend, both my roommate and I had to buy fans. So that's an essential since they still haven't turned our AC back on. I'm trying to think of like what else. I feel like I should have like a better answer. Um, I mean, I love my robe. I and my shower caddy. I have one of the mesh shower caddies. I originally had a plastic one. I would highly recommend getting a shower caddy. I know some people don't use them, but I feel like most people do. And if you're in a communal bathroom, like you need that. I guess my last thing would be my little ottoman. You can't see it, but it's like a little ottoman like this. It's a storage ottoman, so the lid comes off, and that's really nice because I use that to get up onto my bed. Because like college beds are really high off the ground, they're like lofted. Mine's not like lofted into the air, but it's a good like I don't know, maybe 4 feet into the air, or 3 or 4 feet. I don't know how tall exactly. Probably not 4 feet, probably three. I'm like looking at my roommate's bed to try to see. But even as a 5'5" person, I can't get into my bed without getting on like a step stool. So I like this one because it also has storage in it, and storage is hard to find in dorm rooms. So I guess those would be my things. I don't know. I feel like they're boring, but I don't really have anything like life earth shattering.
They're essentials, right? I think a fan's a great
Yeah.
piece of advice. I remember staying at a hotel right across from a college that didn't have AC. And like in the elevator with people at college who had to leave their dorm to stay the night at the
Yeah.
hotel because it was that warm. Like a
Yeah.
fan's an essential thing. And are shower caddy, is that the same as like shower shoes, or is that a different thing?
No, so the caddy is like what you carry all your stuff in.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if that like the shower shoes, I just wear flip-flops.
Hmm.
Also an essential. I've never seen anyone not wear them,
Yeah,
but don't be that person in your communal bathroom. Yeah. But I've seen some people they just carry like all their shampoo. I think like well, obviously I'm a floor with like all girls, but I feel like it would be probably more common for guys to be like, I don't need a shower caddy. But I
yeah.
feel like it's really helpful. I don't know, maybe girls like I don't want to stereotype, but like use more products in the shower, but like I keep everything in there. Like I even keep my toothbrush and toothpaste in there. I think it's helpful. Yeah. I
Absolutely.
don't
I
know.
think it's a great
I mean,
like just I think those are all absolutely essential things that
yeah.
I have not thought about. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Also say like snacks are good. Actually, I would highly recommend my mom got me these. They're like these like pasta things, but it's like you don't like it's like these like baggies, and I think it's like Gorilla or something, whatever the blue pasta brand is, like that comes in the blue box. Like these microwavable bags, and so the pasta's already cooked in them, so you just open the bag and like microwave it, and then you have pasta. So like you don't have to worry about having like a pot or like having to boil water and stuff. Cause like at least for me, like we do have a shared like communal kitchen, but like it doesn't have anything in it. So like anything I'd want to cook, like I'd need to get my own utensils for it. And I don't really feel like using the kitchen that is shared by four buildings worth of people on one floor,
Oof.
basically. So yeah, I mean it's not like huge, like a huge amount of people because Barnard is like a pretty small school, but yeah, those pasta things, especially first semester, they were kind of lifesavers.
They sound like
So yeah,
lifesavers.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just thought of another one. Sorry, I'm like looking around my room. A lamp. A lamp. Okay,
A lamp.
I don't know about like other like I think it depends on your dorm room, but like mine, we literally have no one listening can see this, but it's these little like I don't know what these are called, but it's like a bowl like torch thing.
I have no
There's
idea.
one on my side, there's one on my roommate's side, and that's it for lights in the room. This and my roommates, which my roommates isn't even as bright as this. Hers is like I'm showing the zoom. Hers is like
Yeah.
yellow. That's all the light that we get for the room. So, and technically, you're not supposed to put up those LED lights, but we do have them. But we also have a lamp, and it's life changing when it gets dark and you put it on, because like the lighting in here sucks. And I definitely think that's like a like school to school kind of thing if you have like overheads or something. But like we literally have two like lights in our entire room, so that would be another thing. I feel like, and definitely like I would say when you're like trying to get stuff for your dorm, like I like looked at the floor plans and I looked at like they had like little like online like tours or views of the rooms and like try to reach out to like current students or something. Like it was super helpful. We here have a program where like low income first gen international students can come early. And so there's one girl who was here, I think it was like a week or two early, and she did like a whole vlog of her room. And I was just on Instagram, like intensely watching it because she was in the same building as me to kind of just see what the layout was. Because I think like knowing what you have in your room, like already in terms of furniture and stuff, can be super helpful in like what you pick out and what you bring. Like yeah, because like I knew I was gonna have a lot of lighting, and my mom was like, "You definitely are gonna need a lamp," and it wasn't something that I thought about at first. I was like, "Okay, yeah, that makes sense."
That absolutely makes sense. And I'll even throw my hat into the ring for this. If you're going to any
Mhm.
school in like Midwest or North area, like anywhere that's cold for a long period of time, anywhere that has relatively long winters, particularly
Mhm.
Michigan, but other places around that, there's these things called happy lamps, and they're like little desktop lamps with their UV, and they have like UV sun lamps, and they are kind of life saving because seasonal affective disorder and like seasonal
Mhm.
depression is real. So they're I think also really important things if you're going to be anywhere, especially transitioning from a warm climate to a cold, like to something that's dark and gray
Yeah,
often. Have those lights there because they will help a lot.
yeah, that's a good one. I didn't really think about that. I mean, here it's like cold, but it will also be sunny, so
Mhm.
you have
Yeah,
that sun. But yeah,
yeah, it is gray skies in near
yeah,
April.
yeah, you got to think about the weather, but also think about it strategically because, like, I mean, to be completely fair, like, I am 30 minutes from my house. So, like, if I need stuff, it's very easy for me to get it. But, like, just in general, like, you don't need to pack all of your clothes. Like, when you come there, like, here, like, obviously the seasons change. So, like, when I went home for Thanksgiving break, I took home some more of my, like, summery clothes and, like, brought back more like heavy duty winter clothes because around Thanksgiving time it definitely does start to get colder, but it's not like freezing yet. So that's like another thing to think about if you're somewhere where it's like warm or not or whatever. Like if you're planning on going home for Thanksgiving, like that's a really good opportunity to kind of bring home clothes that you're not wearing, like bring back new stuff that you feel like you needed. Like my roommate, like every break, she always is like bringing home more clothes that she's not wearing, like me too. Because it's like you learn very quickly that like you probably, I mean, I don't know. I'm a chronic overpacker and I still feel like this room is like I have too much stuff here, but like I feel like you learn very quickly like what you need, what you don't need. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great advice as well. I hadn't thought about it genuinely, but I think that's excellent
Yeah.
advice. So see, I'm glad to make this podcast. This is entirely a selfish endeavor so that I am not lost when I go to college. But yeah, Thanksgiving break, bringing stuff home,
Yeah.
excellent idea.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
yeah. Pre-planning that you're gonna like bring your winter clothes. And I mean, if you're not somewhere where it's like four seasons, I don't think this affects you as much, but like pre-planning that like you're gonna bring your spring clothes back and like bring your winter clothes. And then like same thing for spring break. Like in college, spring break is in March, usually like randomly in March. So like it's at least for us here, like it's not like super hot weather yet, but it's definitely getting warmer. And so like now it's also a good time to like switch out clothes. And then that way you just like have less stuff here and you have more room for like stuff that you want.
Certainly. Again, like you said, and I think I've heard about this too. Storage is critical, and I think that
Yeah.
yeah, maybe I'll just do a whole episode on like the most effective ways to
Yeah.
lay out your room once I get a dorm room. Like and I'll just
Yeah.
find that strategy, make that game plan. One question that gets a bit more nostalgic generally, but what's a moment from high school that you still think about that kind of comes to you still?
Yeah. So I guess like kind of my like whole senior year, but really like the end of it, which I feel like is really cheesy, but I don't know, my senior year was like an entirely different year than my rest of my high school experience. I feel like freshman, sophomore year is like very stressful, very like high paced, even beginning of junior year. Was a lot of stress, a lot of like very busy. And then like very focused on dance, very focused on like school. And then like so junior year, and then the pandemic happened, and like right before the pandemic, I got my driver's license and stuff. So like coming into senior year, um, like school was definitely easier my senior year. I don't know if it was like because the classes were easier. I mean, I've still taken like all honors, all APs, but like some of them were like known to be a little bit easier than others. But like, and then we also were hybrid for most of the year, so like half my days were virtual. But school's definitely a little bit easier, I think, with like having that virtual tied into it. I could drive, so I was able to like hang out with my friends on a whim rather than being like, "Hey, mom, like, can I go like get lunch with so and so on this day?" And that was really nice. And I think also like while I was super focused on dance, like I really was also making sure to take time to like hang out with my friends. So like every once in a while, like I would leave dance class. Like we had dance on Friday night till usually like 9 or 10 p.m. And like I would sometimes like one week like I left early to go to my friend's birthday party, and I probably never would have done that had it not been my senior year. But I was like, I really want to spend a lot of time with like these people that I'm like never gonna have this time with again. And like getting into a school ED was also really helpful because I didn't have to worry about like college apps basically for the rest of my like time there. So like kind of towards the end when everyone was done with college apps, nobody was worrying about school anymore. Like the teachers were really like not laying it on that hard, and like I just really got to hang out with my friends. It was super nice, and especially towards the end, they let us go back full day, full time. So like just seeing my friends in the parking lot and like getting to do all the like fun like end of year senior year activities. Like those last 2 weeks of school, I would say those were like I think they were oh no, I think they had more like full day time, but like those last 2 weeks of school were like full of like all like the senior like activities. Like we had our like commitment day, and we had our senior trip, and we had like the senior prank and our senior sunrise, like all that. And that was just like a super fun time. Where it wasn't all about school, like work. Like the last 2 days of senior year, we basically just had like my school was like an open campus. So like we had like a huge like quad with like I don't know if we actually called it, we didn't really call it a quad, sorry, but like a huge like grassy area, and like we called it summer campus actually. And like we just kind of had like like a party basically on the lawn. Like we call it like a danger. It wasn't really like danger what you would think of like, but like it was really fun, and just like hanging out like playing lawn games basically for the last 2 days of senior year. And like it was just a really fun time. And like part of me is like was like very done with high school, very happy that like I'm in college now and like have moved on. But I do think about that a lot sometimes, especially like we're getting near it again. Like I get my snap memories of like what I was doing this time last year, and I was like, wow, that was like a really peaceful, like chill time in my life. And I don't think I'm ever gonna have a time like that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, not to be like super long-winded, but I do get a little nostalgic every once in a while. Which is like speaking of expectations, because I feel like it's been a big theme. Like I expected that I wouldn't care about high school at all. I was like, feel like I don't want to be like one of those people that like peaks in high school. Like I don't want to ever think about high school again. And like I realized kind of towards the end of high school that like peaking in high school, like just because you like have moments that you liked in high school and like you get like nostalgic for those times doesn't mean that you peaked in high school. Like that just like it just means you had good times and you had good memories and like being attached to like high school and stuff, like not in a way that you're like always back there and always wanting to be back there, but like being upset when it ends and like I cried a few tears on my last day of high school. Like I'm not gonna lie, like it's a huge chapter of your life to close. And like anyone who's like really adamant to like not peak like in high school and not care about high school that much, or just say like let yourself like have that nostalgia, let yourself like have that like sadness and happiness and like oh this is ending, because it is such a huge chapter in your life, and like being upset about that or like thinking like oh that was really fun, like I missed that, isn't like a bad thing, because you're really like I don't think I'm ever gonna have a time like the end of my senior year of high school ever again, and I don't need it ever again, but like it's its own like special thing that like I will like really I appreciate.
Absolutely. I think that the more I think about it, the more I think that I think peaking is bogus. I think like
Yeah,
maybe on some level it is. I think that maybe it's a peaks and valleys thing. I think on some level
yeah,
peaking is bogus. I see a lot of people who are like 70 and doing rad things, right? I don't think that you're ever
yeah,
gonna, I think moments will peak. I don't think that peaking in high school is something to be concerned about, right? And I
I would
agree with
agree.
it's cool to hear you kind of reflect on your senior year, and I'm already having those reflections. I'm already like
Mhm.
sitting here getting nostalgic for homecoming of my senior year, still in senior year, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm like, oh gosh, like that parade was so sick, which it was.
yeah,
But so and I'm really excited for kind of these final moments to happen,
hmm,
prom, spring break, graduation. Like these are going to be big moments, and I'm really grateful that I'm thankful for your class that you kind of had a normal ending. I think that we'll have a pretty normal ending, knocking on wood there, but I feel like where things are
hmm,
going to be okay. And so, yeah, I think that senior year will be something I look back on very fondly, and I already do. But it's a
yeah.
exciting time.
Yeah, I definitely say like seniors out there, like appreciate every moment. Like even if you say you hated high school, like I would have been one of those people that said I hated high school, and like I'm glad it's done. I'm glad like I'm not gonna lie, I'm glad it's done, but like appreciate every moment, because like even like if you're like a sophomore or something, like people would be like, oh, like it goes by so fast. And like even like being a freshman in college now, I'm like, wow, it really does go by fast. I'm like, I'm almost done with my freshman year. And now I'm like, I feel like college to me is like I really do love it, and then like I feel like I'm coming more into my own, like I haven't reached that level yet, but like I'm already like, wow, I'm really gonna miss college when I graduate. I'm a like it already feels like I'm like this is how fast freshman year went. Like, and trust me, parts of it were super like, oh my god, I'm literally going to die here. Like, this is just never ending. But yeah, I'm already like, oh my god, I only have three years left. Like the most of it. But like I would say don't stress and just like enjoy the moments. And like if you're having a hard time in high school, like know that it does get better. Maybe not in high school, maybe it might be after, but yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. That was like a tangent. I feel like I'm always going on tangents.
they're great tangents, and it's worth it. It's needed, right? Like it totally is good. But yeah, I would agree with that. I think that there can be both ands in these kind of situations. Of like, yeah, sure, some elements of high school sucked, absolutely, like sure, but also like there's some really kind of beautiful things that happen, and like I think things that I will hold with me for like a while, even if it's just like acts of kindness, are like it's basically our algebra 2 through like calculus teacher, this wonderful lady. There's a random little like office room, kind of there's like a focal point, and it branches off into like our libraries at the bottom, and then it's like there's three doors. One to the left is our media room, one to the right is her calculus room, and then this middle is just like random space that was essentially just made because of how the other rooms synced up. And she like it used to just be a storage room. Like I remember last year and even the start of this year, it was like random production equipment was in there. Like I'd go and like record a school podcast in there for like a gov assignment. Like that was what the room was for. At the start of this trimester a couple weeks ago, she brought like chairs from her basement, stacked it with like fruit snacks, pencils. Like there was a random mini fridge in there, but like nobody used it. But like got it kind of working, cleaned out of the space, and it's this like I have an independent study, so I get to go in there every day, second hour, and it's just this like lovely space that I have just like think about so much now, and like the kindness that she did just out of her own heart. Like, oh my gosh, it makes me like, I think that's something that I am going to remember for a while in high school, and just like because it's me and like usually two other seniors, but like a bunch of other seniors will kind of just pass through and hang out. Like it's kind of constantly in use and in flux throughout the day, and it's just such a cool little space that's kind of like our own as seniors essentially, and I love it. So yeah, man, senior year, it what a thing. Speaking of high school and or college, what's a song that got you through maybe high school or college or a moment in there? I'm putting together a bit of a school survival playlist, so
Yeah, I don't think I have like a specific song. I'm not like super into music. I will listen to it when I'm doing homework. I usually like prefer podcasts unless I'm like reading or something, but honestly sometimes I just like silence. I'm always a fan of Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift. There's a playlist that's like all of her songs in order that I listened to like pretty heavily like through high school and like now even. I don't know if that's like the answer that you're looking for,
that
but
works.
that's my take on it. I
I
mean,
mean, I'll take if you can pick one, a favorite Taylor Swift song,
oh
and if you
yeah, of
can't,
course.
that's okay too. I get it, like
So
favorites is such a weird thing to ask.
yeah, I my favorite Taylor Swift song would have to be probably August. I love All Too Well, especially like the new 10-minute version, but like all-time favorite would have to be August, which is on the Folklore album. I don't know, my birthday's in August, so I felt like a little special attachment to it.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know, it's a good song. All of her songs
absolutely.
are good though.
Totally, totally. I feel like I need to be more of a Swiftie. It's my calling. Like I know that I will. I saw on TikTok there was a college. It was a Taylor Swift class in college, and I'm like,
Oh my
I
god,
want to
yeah, I
take.
saw
I'm
that.
like, I would take this class. I feel
Yeah,
like,
I think it's at NYU. I have to see if I can take that class because I know sometimes there's like exchanges where you can take classes that like I know sometimes NYU people are like in our clubs or like we can be in NYU clubs if they don't have it here. So I have to look into that.
I think that would be an excellent class. If you take it, you'll. I
Yeah.
want you back on this podcast to talk about it. Just like I need like a weekly update. But we'll talk. We can talk more when that bridge arises. Last thing, and kind of we've I feel like talked about it, but like, is there a piece of advice that you give to freshman you in high school, and then maybe even freshman you in college at the start of this year? And I think you've already harped on a couple of great pieces of advices and talked through that. But anything?
Yeah. I think like freshman me, I would just say like stop stressing, which is like I could tell me like right now that to like
Yeah,
stop stressing because I'm just like a very like naturally I think I get very stressed out over things, which is not a good thing, but I don't know, it's very worried throughout like high school, basically up until I got into Barnard. And even then I was like had to go back and check to make sure I didn't read it wrong. Like my acceptance letter. I was very stressed like about college and like about dance, like getting into the highest level of dance. Because that was like a big struggle throughout like my high school experience. But like just telling myself like not to stress, not to worry, like things do work out. I think a lot of times like I felt like I was very unlucky and like kind of like always the bridesmaid, like was always just like second best or like always like bad things that happened to me. But like I don't know, I feel like especially like it's weird that we're talking about senior year because like senior year I think for me is when a lot of things it was like a long time coming kind of started to click like end of June. And I say end of junior year, but I really mean like end of junior year before the pandemic. Like that's when I got into the highest level of dance. And then like kind of like with the pandemic happened and then like things started to kind of just fall into place for me in senior year. And it's just a coincidence that it happened that way. But I definitely think I would tell freshman me like chill out, don't worry, like just try your hardest, try your best, like you're doing your best and like it will work out. And I think that's a lot easier to say like now that things have worked out and not to say that like my life is perfect now, but like it's definitely easier to look back and be like, well, look at how much stuff has worked when like at the time I had no idea if like things would work out. But yeah, I'd say that's like a big one.
I think that's a great piece of advice. And you're right, right? It's always easy to look back and give that advice, but like I think there's a level of looking forward that comes from looking back as well, right? So to hold on to it now and to learn it now, I think too is still like it's an excellent piece of advice. And I'm kind of with you in that like the weird way that senior year is shaken up. Like I feel like I know there's all this talk of like good for the plot and kind of like talking about things like their TV shows. I can
Mhm.
tell that like senior year is like the season finale, and then college will be like the soft reboot with like the same protagonist but different character. Like I can tell there have been weird coincidences and like full circle moments that have happened essentially from I'd say the end of my junior year through my senior year. Like
Mhm.
just things I never expected to like happen or come back around that just have, and I'm like, oh wow, like okay. So
Yeah.
it's really it's a cool thing.
Yeah, I would agree. Like I don't know, like one really random thing. Like I used to work at a preschool camp prior to the pandemic. And then I kind of the last year that I did it before my junior year, I guess, I was already, even though I didn't know the pandemic was gonna happen, obviously I was already thinking that I wanted to try some summer, nothing against preschool camp. I loved it, but I was like, I want to do something more than just like be a camp counselor. And then it's funny, my senior summer came around and I was literally a preschool camp counselor again, at a different camp and with two of my friends, like from high school. And it was like a blast. Like I had such a fun time. And so like things like that, but they're like super random. I feel like I agree. I don't know if that's like the same kind of things that you were
No,
talking
yeah,
about, but it just
it
made me think of
definitely is.
that.
Yeah, there was some random person that I always saw, like, posting, and, like, I was, because I'm in the high school band, like, I
Mhm.
guess, not that I use Facebook hardly at all,
Yeah.
but I would see her crop up in these Facebook, like, high school band posts about
Hmm.
our Saugatuck band, and, like, I knew the name, and I, like, never, and, like, I think that her child had gone through the program, like, much before my time, and I, like, just kind of would always see her post crop up, and I'm like, who is this person, and, like, what is this? And then I went to take my ACT this summer between my junior and senior year, and I walk in, and it's her. Like, it's this random lady who, from Facebook, who I've, like, never seen a picture of, and I'm like, it was just one of the weirdest,
Yeah.
like, whoa, like, never expected it, never could have, like, planned it, but it was just kind of like, okay, like, wow, like, this is really a, like, it gave me a weird sense of closure to this, like, ongoing mystery of who this person was that I feel like I would never
Yeah.
have solved or thought to have solved, but crazy experiences.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah, I think that brings us to the end of the interview, Kayleigh. Thank you so much for coming on. The last question I really have is there anything you'd like to plug?
Um, I don't think so at the moment. I will say thank you very much for having me on. I don't know. I feel like I always want to talk about college and like my experience and like give advice. So I'm really happy to have like an outlet to do that. So yeah, thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
thank you. I'm very happy to have an outlet to ask a whole lot of questions about college to people, because that's what I have to this table, is just all the questions. So yeah, thank you. It's a blast. I guess one thing that kind of collectively I feel like we can plug is this little podcast called Positivity
Oh
that
yeah.
we are both on. It's been weird, right? Because we've been
Yeah.
out of it for a little while, but it'll be back. I promise. It might even be back by the time you hear this. So check that out. Positivity. It's, instead of ity, it is spelled TEA. It's about good news, uplifting stories. It's like the John Krasinski thing, but with younger people, and just a few more tangents. But it's fun. I think it's a good time. So if you want to hear
Yeah.
us on that more, honestly, we get into
Highly
college on that podcast
recommend.
too. Highly recommend. So yeah. Otherwise, thanks for listening to another episode
Yeah.
of the Student Council. I've been Carter Dvorak, and that's been Kayleigh Richmond. Kayleigh, any other just parting words? Anything else you want to say?
No, I would say, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
promoting Chef Mike's at Columbia. It is a new deli that like it's like it's kind of like Subway style but better, that opened up at
Okay.
Columbia. And if you use a meal swipe, you get a foot long like sub. You can make your own, or they have specials: soup, dessert, fruit, chips, and a drink. I love that place. And yeah, if you're ever at Columbia, it's 15.97 if you want to pay with like a credit card or something, which could be a little pricey, but you do get a lot of food, and I love it there. I literally, my roommate and I both got shirts from one of their like shirt promotions, so now we have Chef Mike shirts. I
That's
can
the
show
best
it
thing
to
in the world. Yes, I need to see it.
you. Wait. I love Chef Mike's. It opened this semester, and it's truly been Chef Mike's sub shop.
Is this a chain or just like a
No,
single?
no, Chef
It's just
Mike is
only in Colombia.
okay. Chef Mike is the guy who's in charge of Columbia Dining. I put that in quotes because I don't even know if it's like a real person, like if there's a real Chef Mike or he's just like a figure, but Chef Mike sub shop.
Chef Mike Sub Shop, you got the shirts.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Sorry, that was such a long like parting word, but
No,
I
that's
had some for
incredible.
lunch, and
Hey,
yeah.
shout out to Chef Mike. If Chef Mike, if you ever want to come on the podcast, if you're real, it
Uh,
might just be like Schrodinger's Mike, right? Like,
like
he
nobody,
exists, he just stays in the chef until
like
he is not exist or not.
yeah. Allegedly, the sub shop was inspired by his Italian grandmother who used to make him subs. But I've also never met or Chef Mike, so
Well,
like never like ever. So if anyone knows if Chef Mike's real or not, like maybe I'm just a naive freshman, but I don't know.
yeah. Well, if you meet Chef Mike, what I want you to do, if you feel safe enough and fine enough with it, take a selfie with Chef Mike and then send it to our
I
Instagram at
will.
StucoPod. Or if you want to send it to our email, if that's easier for you, that's StucoPod@gmail.com. or any other place you can find us. Those are the only two. But if you meet Chef Mike, you know how you can tell us too? You go to iTunes, you go to rate and review, you give us 5 stars. In the caption, you say, I met Chef Mike. Nobody's going to get you but me and anyone who's listening to this, but that's okay. So let us know in any way you can if you've met Chef Mike.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's all from me. Good luck and good times in your educational endeavors. The council is adjourned.